Welcome to the McKinley Diaries 21 years on with myself, Nigel Vardy. We're now on day 8, the 7th of May, 1999. I had a terrible night's sleep filled with cold and cramp. Well, that's what tends to happen when you're trying to sleep in the middle of a crevasse field. We just didn't have time to get any further the day before. We were stuck. We had to make a decision. The camp was an emergency and it really felt like it as well. I usually travel with a day and night set of clothing on the mountain so that I put fresh thermals on that are reasonably dry every night. And I notice here I didn't change into my night set and I suffered for it all night, because you do, regardless of how cold you are on a mountain, you will generate some sweat into your clothing. And the worst thing that can happen to that is it freezes onto you overnight. It's very uncomfortable. Anyway, we got up late, we were tired, we were hoping for sunshine, but there was no chance of it. The Cahilton and North East Fork is quite shaded at times, and basically we just had to force our way out the bags, and it was bitter. The views were good though. We were quite high up now, and we could see the American team actually below us, way back, getting to our last camp. And we decided, well, we've got to get on with it. Today we want to get to the base of the Couloir, and then we can look at trying to climb the true West Rib. I've always found that distance can be very deceiving in places like this. You look at something, you think, oh, you know, we'll be there in half an hour. And 2 days later, you're still trying to get there. The crevasses got bigger. In fact, they got so big, and I distinctly remember us having to lower the sledges and gear down on ropes, abseil into the crevasse, walk along the bottom, lead ice climb about Scottish grade 4 out the other side, drag all the bags up, then get the rest of the team up, and that suddenly, you know, a few yards takes hours. What you could have walked on flat ground in minutes takes hours. We then, again, I distinctly remember this, going over a tiny ice bridge, and a 200-foot odd drop below us going over this bridge. And you really want to go over them in the dark, and it was sunny, but there was no other way of doing it. And we went over one at a time. And I've always said, to cross an ice bridge, you need the speed of a 100-metre runner and the delicateness of a ballet dancer in crampons. It's quite a mix. Anyway, we got safely over, although it did scare me at the time. And if it had fallen, then I don't even want to know. We did eventually get to camp, and we were very relieved to do so. What we did notice with all the ice fall and the blocks of ice that fall, they do create wonderful shadows and images and pictures in shade and sun. And I've written down here, spectacular shapes carved in them, faces, statues, pyramids. You could make out almost anything. Anyway, we started to dig in, found a crevasse, moved, started digging again. And again, we noticed, you know, the shade was coming, the temperatures were falling bitterly again. But thankfully we got the tents in. It did start to snow lightly, it says here. But we got in, and we decided to stay in. We had enough. Now, seeing as the day before we hadn't eaten particularly well, we decided to go for it. And we absolutely stodged ourselves on pasta, sausage and sauce, followed by a beautifully sweet mix of custard and dates. But by now, we weren't going outside. We sealed up the tent. Steve then found his sleeping bag and got a little bit damp. And there's no chance in a place like this of ever drying like that out. So you just have to make the best of it. And he said, I'm going to sleep fully closed night. There's nothing else for it. Well, the best of luck to him on that one. It was going to probably be a pretty uncomfortable night, as I'd had before. But that's all you can do. Shut up the tent, pull the bag over your head, and try and get some sleep.